we're going to be doing a data encryption demo on D3. Specifically, we'll be talking about an encryption of your data at rest. The data in transit demos are specifically to other client applications that we have available for D3, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Here's our disclaimer for our legal purposes. And I am Tim Rude, the Senior Development Manager for D3 here at Rocket Software. And now let's get on to the demo. Here I'm on my Linux 10.3.2 system. Now, I'm on my Linux system so that I can show you the encryption with dumps rather easily, rather than having to drop into the monitor bugger on the Windows system. But everything that I'm showing you here today should work on both your Windows as well as Unix systems on 10.3.2. So historically, we've had for a few releases now the ability to encrypt your entire file, and that used 128-bit encryption. And we use the standard encrypt-file command. And I'm going to use the locations file just because it's simple. It's a small file, a modulo 1 file, or I've changed it to be a modulo 1 file. So everything shows up when I do the dump. So if I do the standard encrypt file locations, it's going to use the standard encrypt 128-bit encrypt that's been around on D3 for a couple of releases. If we have a look at that, you can see the DE1, which is the indicator that it is encrypted currently. And if we dump that frame, then you will see that the data is encrypted. You can see the item IDs are there, so that's one thing to make note of. Please don't store any secure data as item IDs, because the encryptioning of the file is done on an item by item basis. So you can see there it is encrypted. It used the ENC1 as the indicator of that encryption. So I'm going to now unencrypt that file so that we can show some of the new encryption mechanisms. First of all, if we CT this file, you see we've got a couple of things out here. Maybe, let's say, I don't want people to know the address or the primary phone number. So I'm going to encrypt attributes 2 and 7. So if I go in to the locations record, what we're talking about here is field level encryption. And all you need to do is put in the word encrypt and the list of attributes that you want encrypted. Of course, you do need to spell the keyword right or it will not work. And then you use the same encrypt file. And now if I dump that same frame, because it hasn't moved, you'll see that here we've got ENC2. It's got the regular name of the attribute 1. Attribute 2 is encrypted. Attributes 3, 4, 5, 6 are not encrypted. Attribute 7 is encrypted, and attribute 8 is not. So you can see here that it's just doing field level encryption. Now, you ask, well, why would I want to do field level encryption if I can do the whole file? Well, you think, well, if your items are large, 128-bit encryption does 16-byte encryptions at a time. That's 128 bits. So it encrypts 16 bytes at a time. If you got relatively large items, it's going to have to call that mechanism several times in order to encrypt your entire item. So if you want to shorten the amount of time that and the number of calls that it makes to the encryption function, you might just want to encrypt 1 or 2 attributes. Now, my belief is that once you get 3, 4 attributes that you want encrypted in a file, you're probably just as well off to go ahead and encrypt the entire file instead of trying to do, for performance reasons, trying to do 1 or 2 attributes. But if you're just going to do 1 or 2, that's fine. Any more than that, I think your trade-off is probably lost. So it is functionality that you have there at your disposal if it's something that you would like to do. Now, one of the things, as with all the encryption mechanisms on D3, we do not tie the encryption to a key store. We make use of a private key rather than a public key that somebody needs to know and be able to encrypt their data. And only the people that know the password can decrypt the data. We do not tie the data access controls to the encryption of the data. They're two different security concepts that we keep separate, that a lot of people tie together to for the security of your data. It's just a different philosophy, not saying one way is better or not. We just don't want to have to be responsible for you losing your password and not being able to decrypt your data. The way we use it with the private key that we've generated, or that we do generate, you will never be able to not unencrypt your data. So the final mechanism that I wanted to show you, let's go ahead and decrypt the file again and have a look-see at this so that we can take away this so that we're not doing field level encryption, but we want to do whole file encryption. And that is, we are going to look at 256-bit encryption. And if we use option 2 on the encrypt file for 256-bit, it will encrypt it with 256-bit encryption. So if we look at the file defining item again, you'll see it's got a DE3, which is a new indicator that it uses a different encryption algorithm mechanism. And if we dump the file, again, you see the clear text item IDs. It uses the same mechanism. It's just the algorithm is different, so the data that's displayed here in the encrypted side is unique. It is 256 bits rather than 128 bits. So instead of encrypting 16 bytes of data at a time in blocks of 16 bytes, it encrypts data at 32 bytes or 256 bits. So that is what we offer for our encryption on D3. Finally, here are some other topics that might be of interest to you if you're interested in securing your data, whether it's at rest or in transit. Thank you.